Hello everybody, and here we are today with another Ford Crown Victoria video, of course, and what we're going to cover today is when it rains, it pours. So for those of you that have been following this car for quite a long time, many of you know that it was definitely in a fender bender of some sort after it was retired and the previous owner had owned it. And unfortunately, what ended up happening over the last couple weeks is I put about $700 into the car, or almost $800, and please keep in mind when I'm talking about these prices, we're talking about the Canadian dollar. And for people in the States, just to compare the car part prices, for example, a rim in the United States for these cars only runs about $60. Here they're about 170. So by the time you pay for the shipping, the conversion rate, and all that stuff, by the time a part gets here, it is way more expensive than what it ever is in the United States. So what has happened over the last week and a half or two? So first of all, the sway bar link went, which was an easy replacement. So we got a new one, got that replaced. And then unfortunately, the wheel bearing had to get replaced on the car. And we had to chisel it so much so that those of you that live in a Rust Belt would know how much of a pain some of these wheel bearings can be after being almost a 15-year-old car, even though it's only seen 8 winters or so. Yeah, we had to chisel the wheel hub back quite a bit, and in doing so, we ended up having to replace the wheel hub as well because we had to chisel so much off of it just to get the wheel bearing out. So unfortunately, the wheel bearing itself after labor was about $300. The part was a little over $280, and then the wheel bearing hub was almost $300 just for the part, so it was about $330 by the time labor was done. So that alone was quite a bit, and then I had to get it aligned because we had to beat on the bearing so much to get it out. So there we are. We were at what am I at now? Almost $700 into this car within a little over $800 within the past couple of weeks into this car. So when it rains, it pours for car repairs, and on top of that, we believe that the wheel bearing was not the original that came with the vehicle because this side of the wheel bearing was a lot more rusty than what the other side of the vehicle is by any means of the word. So I figured when it was in its accident, they replaced it with the cheap wheel bearing off an old Crown Vic. And also something else, speaking of the accident, that I noticed during when we were replacing the wheel bearing is you can see a little something is starting to pop up here in the fender. What's that look like? A little bit of rust coming through. When I went through the car wash the other day, guess it's popping up. A little bit of white paint, so you know what that means? This is also not the original fender that came with the vehicle, so they replaced this fender off of an old Crown Vic as well. A police Crown Vic, obviously, but it's white, most likely. So this isn't the original fender, so if you come around and follow me over to what is an original fender, has this vehicle's been winter stored, look at that. No rust. Clean as a whistle under there. There is literally no rust under that fender at all. This thing is like brand new, that fender, and the underbody of this car is also very good. So when I saw that, and then I went through the car wash, I go, that's exactly why that fender's rusting out, because they replaced it with the non-original fender on this car. Yes, it's an OEM fender, but it was used, and it's obviously seen quite a few winters. So I'm probably going to have to replace the fender on this machine as well, which is very unfortunate because, that just means more money going out the window. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way things go with the car sometimes. Trying to think of what else. I think that's the main things, if that can get replaced. And during the alignment, I think I mentioned as well, the car can't get perfectly aligned because they missed replacing a part during the damage repair. So I figure one of the control arms are a little bit bent out of shape from where it is originally. Car still dries fine. You don't even notice it. It's still pretty close to the alignment. It's just off a little bit. Still dry straight because I could get the toe good. It's just the camber and caster a little bit off. But yeah, that's kind of the pain sometimes of having a vehicle that was previously in an accident and not necessarily repaired correctly. Because like I mentioned in other videos too, you can tell the paint difference, how much better the hood is versus the fender and the door. So yeah, it's just kind of the pain of having a vehicle that wasn't an accident. Car's still in good shape overall. I would definitely pit it up to be one of the cleaner ones in the province still at this point. But it's just kind of one of those pains. Every former cop car, every used vehicle always has a specific pain, and that's going to be the one on this car, unfortunately, and it has been over the last couple of weeks, and it might continue if I have to get that fender replaced anytime soon, which I probably will have to do. just because there's so much that needs to get wet sanded, it'd almost be tempting just to repaint the car. But that's running into another couple grand that I don't really want to spend or have to spend on it. So it is what it is. What are some of the annoyances that you guys have with your personal Crown Vic, and what are things that you put off replacing? Let me know in the comments section below. Like, subscribe, and see you all next time.